Rolling, hang on. We're rolling. Hello, viewer. Welcome back to Full Record Jacket with Phil and Ben. Or if you've never watched us before, welcome. And thank you to everyone who has recently started following this show. I don't know what you thought you were doing. What did you do when you click subscribe? It means you're going to keep on seeing us pop up in your feed.
The Simon and Garfunkel of the internet.
Today we are thinking inside the box.
We are inside the box.
Ben has got some boxes to show us. So without further ado, take it away, Ben.
Well, what I thought was, after a few comments from my former big boss, he has told us to frequent speaking too much about Oasis, hasn't he? So
stop doing shows about Oasis.
Stop doing shows about Oasis. To be fair, he's from the north, so it hasn't hit there yet. So they're still in like 1873 up there. So, but I thought, right, we won't talk about Oasis. I'm going to delve into my collection. I'm going to dig out a box set, and we're going to talk about it. And I've got two of them because I've got about 6 copies, but including CD tape. I've probably got about 13 copies of this. So what I thought we'd do, Philster, we're going to talk about this box set here by a band called Mary's Lamb. They're a little outfit from Scarborough. And this is the 30th anniversary of Mary's Lamb's debut album called Lunch in a Box, which I think is a beautiful piece of work. And not only do I have the box set still in the cellophane, but oh God, don't drop. But I've also got this version as well, which I don't know if it works on camera, but can you see that? Well, I don't know if it is.
Is it a hologram? Because I can see the floorboards are going through Liam.
Yes, they do. So the band disappears off the. So you just left with a.
Okay. They haven't disappeared, but I can sort of see it doesn't quite work on the video, but I can see how it would work.
So this is
quite clever.
Yeah, this is number. I don't know, you can see number 7,378 of 15,000.
Okay.
It's a So it's now you are slightly ahead of me on this Mary's Lamb album because you have actually listened to the Mono Valley version.
I listened to it admittedly, I was walking along and I had it in my little Bluetooth ear buddy things. So, that wasn't necessarily the greatest hi-fi experience, but it gave me an idea what it sounded like.
Yeah, I've not listened. I've obviously listened to some of the tracks on the YouTube because obviously they have released some of the tracks on there. And to be fair, part of me thinks if the Mono Valley version was released, if that was the album, would they still have ended up being as big as they became?
I would say no, but let's just backtrack for anyone who doesn't know. Oasis, of course, signed famously to Creation Records after Alan McGee, the label boss, saw them perform a gig in Glasgow.
King Tut's Wah 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 Hut.
So they recorded this album. Now, Mono Valley refers to the location of that studio.
Yes, yeah.
So let's just get the timeline sorted out. So is this 1993 or 94?
I think this is late 93 going into early 94 because they did Mono Valley and Sawmills, didn't they?
Yeah, so Sawmills is where the final album was recorded.
Yeah, I think they got to Sawmills in 94 and Mono Valley was the end of 93.
Now, Mono Valley sessions most of the songs that appeared on the final album, although I think I'm right to think that Supersonic got written a little bit later. So
Supersonic got written. I think they had the jam. I think with Supersonic, they were sort of jamming it in the studio. And because I think the Real People were helping them produce it. And I can't remember the guy's name out of the Real People. Griffiths. Was it Mark Griffiths? Something like that. He was like, "Oh, that make a really good single or really great track. You need to work on that," because I think they were jamming and then they stopped the jam to record Bring It On Down, and so he stopped them. Noel went off, and literally 20 minutes, half an hour later, came back with the finished version. I think the one that they sat down and did, is the version that ended up on the album in the final stages.
Yeah. Well, I think having listened to that original version, obviously, I think Noel Gallagher himself has felt that when he listened back to it, he thinks there was something a bit missing. I think
Yeah, because I think it was Dave Batchelor, wasn't it, who was producing it at that time. He was.
I think it's about 8 songs. It's most of the album that
yeah
we know now. Most of those songs on there: Rock and Roll Star, Shake and Make and Live Forever, Up in the Sky, Bring It On Down. I think Slide Away is on there as well, if I can remember rightly.
No, Slide Away isn't. Diggs'
that wasn't.
Dinner.
Dixie's Dinner wasn't on. Columbia's not on it.
Columbia is on it. Columbia Bring It. So side 1, you got Rock and Roll Star, Shake and Make and Live Forever, Up in the Sky. And side 2, which is side 6, is Columbia, Bring It On Down, Cigarettes and Alcohol, and Diggs' Dinner. Slide Away appears on the Sawmill outtakes. So,
right, okay. And then Married with Children is obviously just a bit of a demo style recording anyway. So
yeah, well, that was recorded in Noel's bedroom,
right?
The original demo for that. But I think with which one was it? I think Slide Away. That was the track when they bought. Well, we'll get on to Owen Morris. That's the track that he mixed after the Sawmill stuff, and they went, "Yeah, that's it. That's the sound."
Well, what struck me is that, in fact, I'm not sure I necessarily picked up on it when I listened to it, but I did read afterwards that Noel Gallagher changed his guitar amp setup when they made the main album that we know. Yeah. So that probably helped to give the guitar sound a bit more oomph, for want of a better technical expression. But also, I think the songs on these original versions sound, to me, a little bit, although it was enjoyable, they do sound a little bit like you're hearing the demo of the song.
Yeah, almost slightly baggy.
Yeah, and there's also the songs the arrangements haven't been filled out as much. For example, Rock and Roll Star on the final album has got that outro where it repeats. It's just rock and roll. It's just all that's not on this original one. It sort of ends a little bit less dramatically, and then Live Forever doesn't have that drum part at the end.
The opening drum part.
Yeah, it doesn't have that. I can't remember how it starts now. I think maybe just start with the guitar part, but again, it's not quite as interesting. It doesn't pull you into the song in quite the same way.
No. Well, I've always found with the final version, Live Forever, it's kind of that bit that sort of get before that drum bit kicks in, which I find quite cool.
So it is. I think I was listening to it thinking, are any of these original versions as good as or better than the final version? Were there any versions that they didn't improve or didn't make better?
Yeah.
I can't say that I've found any, but I did only listen to it once. But I think it's fair to say that it's an interesting alternative way to experience the songs, particularly if you're a big fan.
Yeah.
But I think it is really for big Oasis fans only. You're not going to get any great revelation from hearing this, really, unless you're really interested. That was my view.
Yeah, I think it helps because obviously for years we've heard the backstory of the album was recorded twice before they got the album that they wanted. So I think tracks have always leaked online as things have become available, but I think it just fills in that gap for people's knowledge because it's a bit like the Back to the Future film, isn't it? It was recorded, 80% of it was recorded with Eric Schultz. And big Back to the Future fans kind of want to see that footage, that film.
Did they make 8? This is the other actor that was replaced by Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, because they didn't think he had enough comedic
didn't have enough charisma. But did they actually film 80% of the
It's
movie?
about 70-80% of the
Really?
film. Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know there was that much of it done.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, and I think it just feels, because obviously it's almost like mythology, isn't it? The Sawmill sessions, the Mono Valley sessions. It is the best way to describe it is it's like going to watch Real Madrid and their B team turn up.
Yeah.
It's that kind of feel to it. From the tracks that I've heard, it's more, it sort of completes that circle now. That sort of, in some regards, it kind of doesn't ruin it, but it kind of ends the mystique that there is this whole and recorded album that no one's ever heard out there. But in some regards, it's good to hear it, to see how they got from, and to think how close we might have come to not having the album that actually came out in the end. They might have got that second version recorded and gone, well, that's the best we can do it, so it's just going to have to do. I suppose a little bit like, not so much with the pop album by U2, where it's like, well, that's all we can do. We haven't got enough time. It's going to have to go out as it is. So yeah, it does often make me think. I was driving in the car the other day and I was listening to an interview with Tony McCarroll, and he was saying about when the Owen Morris, they got rid of Dave Batchelor, and then sort of Owen Morris came in and he remixed and did Slide Away, and he said as soon as we put it in the cassette, we knew that was, you just think, because I think Owen Morris had done the Verve. I think he went on to Urban Hymns, didn't he? But he'd done some good work beforehand. And I have to get that thing of, what happens if he wasn't there? What happens if he was busy on something else? So we came that far.
If they hadn't worked with him, they may not have made that record as good, and they may not have been as successful.
Yeah, exactly. So I am quite looking. Like I said, I've heard. I would probably say I have heard. I haven't heard any of the Sawmill, because there's the side 7 and 8 are the Sawmill outtakes with no overdubs on. Don't think I've ever heard any of them. But I have heard a lot of the mono. There's a YouTuber who does get his hands on quite a bit of unreleased Oasis stuff. So I have heard quite a lot of those Mono Valley, but I've not heard them as one continuous stream.
One thing. Listen, is it correct? This is the 30th anniversary box.
It is, yeah.
There was a 20th anniversary box. Was that the last big box of this? I think it was the 20th anniversary.
I think there was a 20th anniversary one.
That's the one. The 20th anniversary one basically gives you the album and all of the B-sides and things that were around that time, like Whatever and all that. What Do You Want to Be a Spaceman and all those songs.
Yeah.
So this new box, this 30th anniversary box, does that completely replace the previous one, or that not, because it doesn't have all the B-sides songs?
Doesn't have the B-sides on it.
This is all the alternate versions that had never been out before, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So it's basically the knowledge gap filler.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's I'm just having a look on here. It says it unearthed for the first time, the tapes of Mono Valley and Sawmills will be fascinating to anyone of any generation who knows every last second of the album. The songs are as they are today, lyrics and melody the same. There are some differences in the arrangements. It's a shock, for example, to hear Liam Gallagher come straight in on the Mono Valley version of Live Forever rather than the now iconic drum intro, and plenty of extra melodic guitar parts, all kinds of ideas flying off, is what's written on here. So it'll be interesting, and it's nicely packaged. I know Manchester City. I do like this version without the band on, just the empty.
Now I have a question. How was that achieved? Did they actually take a photograph of the room without the band in there, or have the band been digitally removed from the original photo?
I don't know. I would have thought they would have taken a picture without
that's
it.
That's an outtake photo before they were put into the room.
Possibly, yeah. Because
the glass of wine's still there, isn't it?
But it's actually Ribena. I'm
Yeah, okay.
sure I read that's Ribena, and because that's Bonehead's front room.
Okay.
So and I think I said on a previous video, and I didn't realise until I saw it on the. I forgot you got the house in the background here.
It's a nicer front room than I thought Bonehead would have had. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of...
Yeah. I mean, his sofa needs a little bit of work, but it's a. I think there is somebody. There's a. I was watching. Was it James Hargreaves? And he was interviewing somebody. He has got like Oasis tour cases, microphone leads. He's got all this Oasis memorabilia, loads and loads of it. And one of the things I think he had was Bonehead sofa.
Right.
So he actually owns Bonehead sofa. So, but I'll have to send you the video because the amount of stuff that he's got. So he's got all like, is it like the DAC tapes?
The digital audio tapes, yeah.
Yeah. He's got a lot of those sort of tapes of songs from Be Here Now, Morning Glory that have never been released.
Wow.
So, yeah. It's like a treasure trove of cool stuff that I need to get my hands on. But I'm not a multi-billionaire, so I probably couldn't afford it. So, but I do have it in 2 copies. Obviously, I've got this. Oh God, blimey, Riley Earthquake. I did get this one as well. It's this is basically, this hasn't got any of the Sawmills or Mono Valley outtakes on. It does have this lovely bit of artwork on the gatefold, which I really like. The studio.
Is that how it was originally released with that gatefold?
I'm not overly sure. I'd have to have a look at my other version down there.
So is that that's just the original album on there?
Yeah, it could be. I
Is
don't know.
is that just the original format of the
I
LP?
don't. I've never seen those pictures before, so I'm not overly sure.
I think I've seen those images before.
I possibly have, but then you've got the.
Or are they on the inside of the CD as well?
Oh, I'm gonna have to have a look now. I'm gonna have to have a look. So you get it all nicely packaged.
What you just showed me in that gatefold, I'm sure I've seen before. I think it's inside the CD.
And then you get a nice splatter vinyl.
Oh yeah. What is the point of splatter vinyl? Is it the fact that each one doesn't look quite? Is each one unique or something?
I think each one is unique, and also it's so knobheads like me go and spend more money on it because
is that basically the reason. But
yeah. So then you get
the fact it gets you to go and splatter your money.
Yes, yeah,
basically.
and then you get that little set list on there.
That's a lot. This is a live performance.
That's either a set list or what they were recording in the studio.
Okay, because it starts to listen up. I mean, that was.
And that is the original King Tut's Wah Wah Hut sign there.
So is that the set list they played when McGee first saw them?
No, they only played 4 songs.
Oh, okay.
On that one because they'd gone up with Sister Lovers, hadn't they, to King Tut's, and basically got told at the door that they weren't down to play, and depending on whose version you listen to, they either threatened that they were going to smash the place to the ground or pleaded and managed to get themselves.
I'd imagine they actually pleaded. I think that's probably the reality.
Yeah. So they played the 4 songs, which I think were Live Forever, Columbia, Bring It On Down, and something else. And yeah, McGee had just stopped in there because he had either missed his train or was waiting for it. Had a couple of hours to kill before getting his train. So, but they didn't actually sign the record deal till about late. That was February, March or something like that, 93. But I don't think they signed because they never actually signed. As far as I'm aware, they never actually signed with Creation. They signed to Sony. It's just that Creation were the middle bit.
It was the label. Well, Sony, by that point, had Sony started doing the distribution of the Creation stuff.
Yeah, they must have done. So is it still Sony on here? No, Big Brother Records, which is obviously Noel's record label. So yeah, so I've got and obviously it came on CD. I've got it on Deluxe CD and tape. So I have gone full on for this one, Philster.
It's a real nostalgia fest, isn't it?
It is. It
Right.
is. I'm really looking forward to listening to it. It's. I know I listened to it as part of our '94 show, but I think having this sort of opportunity to look back and have these different versions and that, it makes you appreciate the final version more because you realize how close we came to not getting it. So there we go. A video not talking about Oasis. Just for you, Michael. We did mention them